the universe, at least the living part of the universe, and so far we only know of life on this planet, it's all interconnected. Those bacteria I was talking about, they're in your gut. They are making your vitamin B. They are making your vitamin K. They are making an awful lot of the things that you use to survive. They're also making chemicals that influence your mind and your moods. They're manipulating you. So when you go down to the corner store to buy some chocolate eclairs, and you go home and you eat them, in fact, you can only digest a small portion of the chocolate eclair. Those bacterial colonies living in your gut, they do the rest of the digesting for you. So who's really going to the corner store? Who's really the boss? Who's really driving you, the vehicle of transportation? Are these bacteria driving you down to the corner store so that you will feed them the stuff that they love the most? Or is your will driving you to the corner store? Well, the answer is a little of both. A little of both. Not as much of both. I mean, there's this example of, there's this fungus. And the fungus has a very peculiar lifestyle, and I'm very curious to find out how it got this lifestyle. But it lives half of its life in an ant colony and half of its life in a sheep. So when it comes out of the phase of that it goes through in the ant colony and is ready to go into the sheep, it takes over the brain of an ant. And it gets that ant to climb to the top of a stalk of grass. Why? Because when the sheep come along to graze, they will inhale the ant. What? You're telling me that a fungus can control the mind of an ant in ways that we're just beginning to explore now, this year, and maybe last year a tiny little bit, that it can actually be that precise in how it takes over the controls? Okay. Life on this earth functions the way that a beehive functions. And how does a beehive function? 95% of the bees are conformist bees. And they go out to the hot flower patch of the day and they mine the nectar, and they have a public stomach in which they can carry this stuff. I mean, built into them, inside of them. And they have these carrying hairs on their thighs, and they carry pollen in those. And when they arrive at the unloading bay, there is an unloading bay in the hive. And when they arrive at the unloading bay, if the unloaders know that the interior really needs pollen and nectar, and they see you carrying that pollen and nectar, they stick their tongues down your throat to check out what's in your public stomach. They go wild with excitement when they discover it's filled with nectar. They check out your thighs, the carrying hairs on your thighs. They go wild when they see that you're carrying pollen. They feel you all over with their antennae. They are intensely excited when they are unloading you, and that gets you excited. You feel like a rock star. Wow. Because this is the same kind of attention a rock star gets. So you go back out to the flower patch of the day and mine some more. Eventually, you, the conformist bee, start coming back without pollen in your carrying hairs and without nectar in your public stomach, because the flower patch, the hot flower patch of the day, has been thoroughly plundered. And when you arrive at the unloading dock of the hive, the unloading bees stick their tongue into your public stomach, empty, sorry. They see your carrying hairs, empty. They turn their backs on you so savagely that you feel as if you've been cut dead. And it finally, I mean, you can't believe that the old factory's not delivering anymore, and it's not giving you a paycheck, so you keep going back to the same patch over and over again, more slowly each time, until finally you give up, and you literally crawl into the hive. And Thomas Seeley, the guy who's done most of the research on this, calls you an unemployed bee. And you are as depressed as if you were unemployed. How do we know that? Because your body temperature is down and you're crawling instead of walking. And you're begging for food from other bees. Well, you look for something to perk you up. Now, what do humans use? A football game, a movie. Bees use pretty much the same thing. What does that mean? They go to the unloading dock. 5 have come back having found new flower patches. And they are dancing. And the dancing excites you. And they're dancing in competition with each other. Some will dance 27 seconds. Some will dance 27 minutes. And if you find the dance of one of those dancers sufficiently persuasive, it lifts you out of your lethargy, gets you excited, and you fly out. She's giving in a little figure-8 dance. She is giving precise instructions on how to get to the flower patch and what the headwinds are and what the tailwinds are. And you pick up her message, you fly out to the flower patch that she has recommended, and you check it out for yourself. And if you get excited about it, you come back and you start dancing. And ultimately, the bee who gets the greatest number of backup dancers wins. And you all go out, all you conformist bees who are now unemployed, go out to the new hot flower patch of the day, and the same pattern repeats itself. Now, that's a collective mind operating on the basis of 20,000 independent bees. And the living world operates in pretty much the same way. Bacteria are using you to get them chocolate eclairs. You are using them to digest chocolate eclairs. They are teasing our scientists into wild activity by threatening to develop illnesses that can bypass all of our antibiotics, which, by the way, are chemical weapons that microorganisms, colonies of microorganisms use to kill entire competing colonies. We stole them from microorganisms. We didn't invent them, antibiotics. So the scientists are very aware of the fact that the bees or that the bacteria are getting ahead of us in research and development and are beginning to develop techniques to get around all of our drugs. So they are researching their ass off. So is there any common brain that links the bacteria to the scientific community? You bet. They're competing with each other. And in the process of competing with each other, what are they doing? They are both creating new options for all of life.